Now we're going to look at how to code a real functioning HTML5 web page. Here's the basic structure. Let's get started and break down what all of these things mean. A web page will always start off with the doc type. The doc type tells the browser that we are looking at an HTML file. This must be at the top of every document. The browser can read all sorts of files, so this ensures that the browser knows, hey, this is HTML. It is worth pointing out that in general, everything we put inside of angle brackets is lowercase, but Doctype is generally written in uppercase. This is best practice. Technically, the Doctype is case insensitive, which means that it will still work if it is lowercase. Doctype is technically a keyword, but writing the declaration in all caps is good for neat and clean coding. So the Doctype declaration must go right at the top of the page before any HTML code. We open the angle bracket, we put an exclamation, we write Doctype in all caps, and then we write HTML in lowercase, and then we close the angle bracket. So this is what the Doctype declaration looks like. The Doctype declaration is followed by the HTML elements. These tags contain everything inside the document, including the head and the body. The HTML tag represents the root of an HTML document. It is the container that contains all of the other HTML elements. The HTML element is written as opening HTML and closing HTML tag, with all the other HTML elements inside of these two tags. Notice that the HTML element doesn't contain the doc type. That's because the doc type is not technically an HTML element, but it's a declaration. I know it suspiciously looks like an element, but just remember this. In addition to putting our opening and closing HTML tags, the HTML tag will often have an attribute. Attributes can be added to any HTML element to provide more information about how the element should appear or behave. Commonly, inside of the HTML element, we put the lang attribute. The lang attribute specifies the language code of the page. In this case, EN means English. This refers to all of the text on the page. Providing a lang attribute on the HTML element will help screen reading technology determine the proper language to announce. The identifying language tag should describe the language used by the majority of the content on the page. Without it, the screen readers will typically default to the operating system's set language, which may sometimes cause mispronunciations. The first tag inside an HTML element is the head element. This is always followed by the body element. The head element can contain other HTML elements that may contain metadata. Metadata provides information about the document, such as a title, description, keywords, etc. A typical HTML document should contain a title tag, one or more meta tags, possibly a script tag, and a style tag. These all will be enclosed within the head element. All of these nested head elements don't ever appear on the actual page, aside from the title tag, which will appear in the top of the browser. It is also the element that will show if you bookmark a page, so it is important to include it. The head element has both opening and closing tags, and these tags will contain information about the HTML page, the title of the page, definitions, labels, etc. There is certain markup that you can use within the HTML5 head. Some of these elements include style, title, base, link, script, and meta. In HTML5, we refer to these elements collectively as HTML head elements. We'll start off by adding a meta element. Metadata can include document descriptions, keywords, authors, etc. It also can be used for other purposes. Right now, we're going to go ahead and we're going to make the meta with the char set attribute. Let's break down the line meta char set equals UTF-8. Meta is the HTML tag that contains metadata about the web page, or more specifically, descriptors that tell search engines what type of content a web page contains that is hidden from display. Charset is an HTML attribute that defines the character encoding for your browser to use when displaying website content. UTF-8 is a specific character encoding. So in other words, meta charset equals UTF-8 tells the browser to use UTF-8 character encoding when translating machine code into human-readable text and vice versa, and this is what will be displayed in the browser. UTF-8 is a super character set that contains over 136,000 characters. These are letters, numbers, symbols, and even more. All of these are amassed from active modern languages. HTML5 uses the UTF-8 encoding by default, which allows wide-ranging languages to be mixed within a single document. It's always a good idea to declare the character encoding for a document. If you forget this, your page will still work, but it is recommended for best practice that you just include the character encoding specification using the meta tag. You'll note that the meta element self-closes, so it does not have an actual closing tag. We will add one more meta element. This one is going to have two attributes. The first one is going to be HTTP equiv equals, and then for the value, I'll write capital X -UA -compatible. The XUA compatible attribute value allows web authors to choose what version of Internet Explorer the page should be rendered as. In addition to this, we will add content equals, and then inside of the quotes, we'll put IE equals edge. Edge mode tells Internet Explorer to display content in the highest mode available. This is recommended. Personally, I always use this line when making this particular meta tag, as older versions of IE have plenty of bugs, and I do not want IE to decide to go into some compatibility mode and show my page as an IE7 or IE8 or 9. I prefer to always show the latest version of IE, which is much more stable. So this will prevent your page from going into something called quirks mode and displaying your page as an older version of IE would. I recommend that you use this for best practice. In addition to these meta elements, we will also add a title element. The title is usually displayed at the top of the browser's title bar. Search engines and bookmarking will also use this information as well. You can only use one title per page, and every HTML page should have a title element. The title element needs to be succinct and descriptive. Finally, we have the body element. Generally, most content that will be displayed on a typical web page is contained within the body element. The body element generally contains many other elements. We will always use a body start tag and a body ending tag. The body element is categorized as a sectioning root element. Most elements contained within the body are categorized as flow content. HTML elements can only have one body element. And that's it. That is the basic structure for any HTML5 web page. You will need to make sure that you include all of the necessary elements in order to ensure that your page works correctly in the widest array of browsers.